Is it oh, thank God. All right, I hate to drop you guys in the middle of a whole mess, but some really weird stuff happened on the Natter set, and I ran immediately. I mean, I know we deal with skeletons, and I got threatened by some pretty freaky Xbox characters, but this was different. This was creepier. Okay. I scare easy. I have since I was a kid. I was basically afraid of everything that existed, and some stuff that doesn't even exist. But I'm a grown man now. And I just ran. I left my friends behind. I don't know if I would call them friends necessarily. This would be more atmospheric if I was like holding a candle or something, but I don't know a lot about this set. I'm pretty sure we have smoke detectors though, so that's a nope. I still feel like a coward though. At least I can do the thing I always do whenever I feel like I'm not accomplished. I talk about stuff on the internet, even if it's not related. So instead of overcoming my actual fear, I could stay here and go over the stuff that scared me as a kid. I mean, I was a kid back then, and I'm an adult now. How scary could they really be? I keep these scattered all over the floor in case I ever need to sit in a corner somewhere. It takes a long time to write and produce these videos, so I try my best not to jump on trends. You think I didn't want to cover a huge retrospective about a Nickelodeon sitcom? I did, but I didn't want to make a whole thing that's like hours long and then someone else releases there right before. Thank God I didn't talk about Fairly Otter. Oh, could you imagine? Do you know how many videos about the Revenge of the Sith video game came out in May? More than one, but also trends on the internet move really fast. I mean, if I wrote something in the same month something was happening, even by the end of that month when it comes out, the time could have passed. There is one trend I am fully prepared to jump on, but I am constantly paranoid people are going to steal my ideas because it matters to me for some reason, so I'm not going to say it. That being said, welcome to Childhood Trauma, a series of videos made by a series of creators, all started by Your Movie Sucks, talking about stuff that scared them as a kid. Thanks for including me, Adam. He has no idea who I am, but he will soon. That sounded way more threatening than I meant it to. Now I'm glad I'm not holding the candle. I was afraid of the normal kid stuff, you know, Slender Man, the Haunted Dummy, Baby Einsteins. That's a rabbit hole for another day. But one thing you need to understand about kid me, and by extension still adult me, is that there are a lot of Halloween spooky horror creatures that try and chase you and get you and eat you and kill you. But the things I was and am afraid of are more abstract. My greatest fear as a kid, and something that still haunts me to this day, it wasn't getting killed or getting eaten or abandonment, but that's definitely in there. It was the concept of being forcefully transformed into something against your will. You're gonna see a lot of that. You're about to see a ton of examples about that, so there are two possibilities. One, a lot of people don't know that this fear exists and are now exposed to this whole subgenre. Two, there are people out there that are maybe all scared of the same things, but they couldn't pinpoint why, and then they watch me talk about it and understand, oh, that's why. Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf is a 1988 television movie with a perfect name, accurate and to the point. And it's got all the beloved characters from the Scooby Gang. Scooby-Doo, Red Shirt Shaggy, Scrappy-Doo, Googie, Vanapyra, Bone Jangles, The Mummy. If you didn't know, there was a period of time in the 80s where Scooby-Doo, hit television show, became a completely different show with a completely different cast. They deleted Velma, Daphne, and Fred, colored Shaggy's shirt from green to red. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, I'm sorry. And added the beloved dog, Scrappy-Doo, to the main cast, who had appeared in the series prior. And if you don't know anything else about Scrappy-Doo, you probably know that everyone hates him. But it didn't used to always be like that. People used to love him, so much so that they gave him his own show. It's kind of like how Urkel completely took over Family Matters when he started out as just a one-off side character. But because of this popularity, the company Hanna-Barbera, famous for overdoing it, overdid it, what a surprise, and made so much Scrappy-Doo related content and pushed him to the forefront, so much so that everyone got sick of him at the same time and we all agreed to never speak of it again. Sorry I broke the code, but I feel like this is an important case. Shaggy's liberated girlfriend Googie, that's what they call her, they introduce her as liberated, is just kind of there throughout the movie. This film starts like any other classic Scooby-Doo film, with Shaggy racing his famous car and winning the race, like he always does. What part of this is scary? Well, the whole name Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf comes from the fact that they turned Shaggy into a werewolf, and get this, he doesn't want to be one. Transformation is a horrifying concept and it scared me, and obviously, like I said, you're gonna see a lot of examples. So I remember it being scary. What I didn't remember is how little Shaggy cares about this. Like in the other things I'm gonna talk about, the transformation seems painful and they look horrified, and it's just like a terrible experience. With Shaggy Werewolf, he could go either way on it.
At this exact moment, the scene shifts from a bright, happy race in Tyler County, USA, to darkest, deepest Transylvania. Horrific home of the world's most evil menace, Count Dracula.
I know a good transition when I see one, and that one is one of them. In classic Scooby-Doo, I know we're very far from that, and this is not the same show, but just stick with me here. All the monsters are just people in costumes. They run in fear sometimes because they're still dangerous, but they're just people. This movie doesn't feature any costumes. The villain is the real-life Dracula. I said real-life. He's not... Is he real? And you guys thought Zombie Island was the first to feature real monsters?
The Hunt Sponge!
Ah, yes. Allow me to translate.
I have no clue what these things are, but they sound like they don't enjoy living. I remember this so differently. I remember them using some kind of potion or something to turn Shaggy into a werewolf, but this book... it's him. They didn't curse Shaggy. It just so happens that Shaggy canonically can already turn into a werewolf, but only within these specific days. And they need him as a werewolf to race a car in the monster race, so the fact that Shaggy also races is also just super convenient. The prophecy foretold the quirked up white boy would turn into a wolf, but only he can do it. From now on, I'm gonna assume Green Shirt Shaggy and Red Shirt Shaggy are different characters. Green Shirt likes food and hates girls. Red Shirt gets laid, races cars, and is a werewolf genetically.
It says that every 500 years, the moon comes into perfect position on 3 consecutive nights to create a new werewolf. And it starts tomorrow night.
And look, Drac honey, it even shows the one who is to become the werewolf.
Shaggy? Shaggy?
The reason I thought it was a potion is because the moon thing doesn't make any sense. He needs to be hit by this specific moonbeam, but you know, he's already outside. What difference will standing right there make? The moon is beaming down on him. They also make Scrappy watch the car, which I just think is a terrible idea. All things considered, Scrappy-Doo doesn't do a lot in this movie. He watches the car and fades into the background. I fully expected him to be relentlessly annoying, but no, he's just kind of there. This is his final appearance before he reappears in the 2002 movie. I guess they knew they were done with him by this point. Scrappy Mania had ended. Then he turns into a werewolf, and it's mostly played for laughs. Why did this scare me? A lot of the time when you're watching something as a kid, you have to take everything on surface level. You know, you believe whatever the show is pitching to you. A lot of the time, how something is presented tonally can affect how it makes you feel. So as a kid, I thought Flapjack was hilarious and Goosebumps was scary, because Flapjack has silly, goofy stuff, and Goosebumps has spooky music, something scary's happening, and now as an adult, they've switched. I feel like from the get-go, I'm already justifying why Kid Me found this stuff scary, but it's just not. I'm sorry, little guy, I gotta let it go. Then they sprinkle moon dust on them. It's unclear how technologically advanced they are. Like, they have a helicopter and holograph calls, but they also live in an old-timey castle and use ancient magic. If I could say anything nice about this, I know no one's asking me to. These background paintings are legitimately beautiful. I don't even have a joke about this. I just think they look good.
At last, the master will have his reluctant werewolf.
Oh, okay. Since you said that, now it makes sense.
Hey, Scoob, dig the puss on that chick.
Whoa, Shaggy! What the fuck? Hey, look, it's Moltar and Zorak. The first half of this movie consists of the Hump brothers trying to kidnap Shaggy as a werewolf, and they fail and fail and fail and then succeed. And then we see a bunch of monster shenanigans. Every movie that features a cavalcade of monsters has to have the dance sequence. The Monster Mash has done irreparable damage to our culture. And then the second half is the race. This didn't need to be a Scooby-Doo. Just make it Wacky Races. You clearly would rather write Racky Races. I just said Racky Races accidentally. I think I'm turning into Scooby-Doo. Is that the werewolf? Is that I'm a dog? This song is called Werewolf Rock, I think, and it slaps.
Hey, looks good, Scoob.
Hey! What's that stuff? Bat burgers.
Bat
that milk?
I remember this being an episode. They didn't air it a lot. I doubt they even aired it once. We just had a VHS tape of it that we would watch all the time. No clue where we got it. I think actually, if I remember correctly, we bought it from an old man at a garage sale who told me that a kid had drowned recently and bad things would happen to us if we watched it. I'm sure he wasn't serious, though. This did not need to be feature length. They keep repeating bits. Hanna-Barbera was really going through it in the 80s. What am I supposed to even talk about? I'm bored, honestly. Even in the movie, they make Shaggy sleepy. Is this supposed to get me excited?
This dude's got a gun!
Never mind. Sheesh.
Why did you have to say sheesh?
What is happening?
We better stop that young werewolf fellow fast, or the master will have us for tea, old boy. To the copter!
Quick, to the Penocopter!
They even do the sign bit from Wacky Races. Are we sure this wasn't a Wacky Races script? What about this has to be the reluctant werewolf?
We're out in front now, right, Scooby, buddy? Might as well slow down then.
What do you mean might as well slit? You're in a race! Finish it! Even the crowd is bored.
Meet GK. Genghis Khan.
Alright, that's it. I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel. They win the race, Shaggy becomes human again for now, and Scrappy was never heard from again.
Wow, I haven't seen...
Look away, Daphne. We all promised each other that we would never speak of him. Not ever.
Well, that was terrible, but now it's about to get terrifying. We're about to get deep into my psyche. We're gonna see some pretty scary stuff. Originally, I was going to talk about Jumanji as well, but upon rewatch of the other videos, a lot of other people already talked about Jumanji, so I will say this and only this. The only thing that scared me is that he turned into a monkey and he looked really uncomfortable. I fixated on that. Also, the first time I watched it, I caught it on live TV, so the commercial breaks and stuff, and then we had to leave to go do something, so I didn't see how the movie ended for years after that, so I just had this idea in my head of, I guess that kid is stuck as a monkey forever. That's horrifying. Sometimes the best thing you could do for a fear is just to get closure. Jumanji was originally a children's book that got adapted into a feature-length movie. It was probably like 8 pages. I don't know how they did that, but it had a sequel, spiritual successor named Zathura, which also got a film adaptation. But surprisingly, we're actually not here to talk about the movie. We're here to talk about one of the very few books I actually read, Zathura the book. And even then, it's really just the picture. Decorate the set you want. That picture is what got me. Little manlet. They roll the dice and then pick up the little action card, and it said gravity greatly increased, and then this happens, and then I close the book. Well, let's get rid of that. I don't want that looking at me. A lot of the time, a story doesn't even really need to be involved. Just a picture can scare you, have a deep impact on you. I have read very few books, so my novel expertise only includes children's books, and the imagery really gets to me. Have you ever read a story called A Bad Case of Stripes? Instead of reading the book or showing it to you, I'm just gonna rip the cover off and put it there. A lot of the time, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but fuck that. This poor little girl gets an evil sickness put on her that makes her transform into different colors and shapes and images because of lima beans. This was a children's book, and while looking up the book originally, I stumbled across this reading video, and it has...
Her mother ran into the room, and she screamed too.
Like, oh my god, that's so much louder than everything else. She turns into a pill and the doctors try and fix her. The verbiage they use for this is poked and prodded. She ceases to be human and just becomes this horrifying amalgamation of random shit. She becomes a house a la Monster House. Why is Monster House that? Why am I not talking about that? No, I have too much trauma already. She's cured by lima beans again, and that's a nice little story, but the story is not what matters, it's the imagery. No wonder I stopped reading books. You know that bit from Dark Place where he says, I've actually written more books than I've read? I think that might be true. I mean, think about internet stuff like Jeff the Killer, Momo, Fun is Infinite, Ben Drown. None of these stories are that scary or even really good, but this image, this picture, I still scroll past it whenever I see it. Oh yeah, Ben. Speaking of Ben. Can you even see it if it's like holographic or is it just blurry? This is the only video I get to flex the stuff I own. Now, I'm not the first person to talk about how spooky scary this game is. It's a game about the slow death of an entire continent filled with strange and eccentric people. People talk about the happy mask salesman, or the moon, or the hand inside the toilet, and yes, the effigy of emptiness statue. But none of that really affected me except the statue, holy fuck. But I knew from the very start that this would be an unsettling game because it starts like this. Link screams in pain as he is forcibly transformed into this little shitty Deku scrub who's probably this butler's dead son. I suppose my fear of forced transformation stems from the idea of becoming unrecognizable, and I think it stems from when I was a kid where I needed a lot of attention. Nobody really showed me that attention that I desperately needed. Oh, the camera's still on. And it's terrible in this because not only is Link now unrecognizable, everyone hates him on sight. The happy mask man bullies you, the townspeople call you slurs, even the dogs instinctively hate you. I know what you are. Later in the game, you could transform on a whim into different souls, which makes the game more fun, and that's why it's way better than Ocarina. I know I'm just talking about fear, but I gotta put my opinions in here somewhere. But even though you're putting them on voluntarily, you still have to sit through this mini cutscene of Link screaming in pain. The rest of the game was plenty scary, and it's got a cool atmosphere. But beyond everything in the game, the thing that always stood out to me the most was that forced transformation at the very beginning. And it's strange to me that not a lot of people talk about that scene in particular when talking about how scary the game is.
Let's go. You could get into the future.
I don't have anything physical to hold up for this. Despite being the least edgy of all the children's networks, most of my childhood trauma, this list is going to be taken up by the Disney Channel. I watched Disney sitcoms around this era, but I don't think I fully gained consciousness until around 2008, because that's as far back as I can remember. So I'm more used to later Disney sitcoms where the main characters are singers first and actors second, but they never pulled that shit with Raven. Aside from the Cheetah Girls, but that barely counts. What I'm saying is that everyone here was picked because of their acting ability, and everyone on the show was actually giving it their all. Most of all, Raven. Why have I never rewatched this show? This was actually a lot of fun. It's Halloween at Raven's school, and the popular girl is throwing a party. For whatever reason, everyone from school is invited to this party except for Raven and Chelsea. Eddie is invited because this hulking brute loves to bully and harass him. It's funny when girls do it to guys. That's what TV taught me. Also, I'm a white dude sitting on the ground right now talking about Disney Channel. I'm not in a position to break down the racial connotations of that one being the scary one of the group. I'm more accustomed to the Cory in the House era, so it's cool to see super young Cory and his dad interact before they start living with the presidents of the United States. Chelsea and Raven go to Mr. Baxter's restaurant and defeat. Because Chelsea is a vegetarian, she orders a veggie burger.
I went into a restaurant to get a cheeseburger the other day. I said, can I get a cheeseburger? This guy behind the counter goes, oh, well, we don't have veggie burgers, man. With Brussels sprouts and this and that and turkey, not turkey, fuck.
But because Mr. Baxter is a buffoon, he switches the dishes and Chelsea accidentally eats meat. Because of this, she dons an anti-cow button in protest. If I saw someone walking on the street and they had a pin that had a picture of a cow with a big X over it, I would assume they want us to abolish cows, which I think is the opposite of what she wants. Wouldn't it make more sense for it to be a burger? Yes, but you'll see why it had to be a cow later. Despite being about a girl who has psychic powers, the show is pretty grounded. It deals with teenage problems like popularity, artistic expression, racism.
The truth is, I don't hire black people.
Oh my god. But this episode just gives up on trying to be grounded. Apparently Raven had a grandma who was also psychic, so the power's genetic. But her grandma also happens to have a chest of tarot cards and other magic knickknacks like a true witch. They pull out her spell book and start putting together a comically large potion in a comically green cauldron. I know it's Halloween, but who owns a cauldron? No doubt in my mind now, Raven is definitely a genetic witch. The girls wish that they were invited to the party and that they would have the best costume so that everyone would look at them. I think the irony of this situation is just coincidental. I don't think the cauldron works off of genie rules where they like to ruin your life for fun. While jumping for joy, Chelsea's button falls into the forbidden soup, making it a cow potion. That's the only reason the button has a cow on it. The girls drink the potion, and we get to the point that scared me so hard that I'm still talking about it this many years later. When you're a kid, you match the energy of the person you're watching. You're just starting to understand how people work. So when Raven sees her cow ears and Chelsea sees her tail and they start wailing out in agony, how else was I supposed to react? This is horrifying. Like, they're scared for their lives, and there is no one out there that can help them. Do I need to explain how this is terrifying? With childhood trauma, it's stuff you found scary as a kid, and you're trying to justify why you felt that way as an adult, even though you don't feel that way. So, of course, if I watch this now, I wouldn't be hiding behind the couch. But I feel kind of insecure, like I need to over-exude and explain why this is scary, and I fear that people won't really get it. Fucking, that's so Raven. It's not scary. I don't know how else to explain this was scary aside from the fact that they slowly and painfully transform into cows, and each step it gets worse and worse. They become more distressed and racing against the clock trying to fix this before they're cursed forever. Anyway, when they move, it makes a cute little cowbell noise. It's a nice touch.
Wait. This book would go great with my sorcerer's costume. Okay, we'll take it. It's yours. Just move. You just moved.
So because Eddie is dressed like a wizard, he asks if he can take the spell book as it would add to his costume. They let him take it and then immediately go over to the cauldron like, what are we gonna do?
Maybe if we check the book, we can find a spell to undo the spell.
A spell check. Good. Yes. Good.
No. Eddie has taken the book.
I know I cut in the middle because I was talking. I cannot stress enough how close these two events were. He just left.
Ray, hello. We cannot walk into a room full of people looking like cows.
We can on Halloween.
These sitcoms always have an A plot and a B plot, but the Corey story is, in retrospect, not that important. Like, your daughter is fighting for her life in the other room. You don't want to go check in and see what's going on. I will say that they dump out a bunch of candy on the table, and knowing what I know about TV, they can't use any actual name brands, so some poor prop manager had to painstakingly make a bag's worth of fake candy bars, most of which no one will ever see.
Come on, William. Really? Just don't touch yourself.
I guess I could explain the context. But where's the fun in that? The girls show up to the party with their faces fully cowed out now. As an adult, I can appreciate how much makeup went into making it look like this. But as a kid... And if you didn't think slowly turning into a cow against your will with no way of stopping it wasn't scary enough, now they're accumulating cow-like tendencies. Their brains are becoming cow brains, they are basically slowly dying. And now they have hooves! No wonder I wouldn't sleep after seeing this. What the fuck? I hate this! In a comedy of errors, it turns out Raven and Chelsea won Best Contest for their cow costumes, but then it pans over to them, and they're just cows! Okay, fun's over. Questions. How did they know these cows are the girls? Did people see them transform? I mean, it's a pretty busy party. Why is everyone treating this like it's just a normal occurrence? Aw, man, not another cow party. I hate when they do this. And you may think, well, this ends tragically, so it must be non-canon. It's just a dream or something. No. Close, but no. It's a vision. That's so much worse. A dream, you can imagine anything happening. The fact that Raven had this vision means it could totally still happen. It is canonically possible. If I was her, I would throw that fucking chest in the ocean. There is some universe out there where Raven turned into a cow forever and then slowly lost her human mind as she forgot all of her friends and family. How are they gonna explain this to Chelsea's parents? They don't know that psychics or magic or witches exist. They're just gonna assume their daughter went missing and never returned, when in reality, she's a cow. Anyway, whew. What happens to Corey's mom? Like, I know Corey and his dad move away, but why didn't the mom come with? What happens to the mom? Why would the president let Corey live in the White House, but not the man's wife? Well, that was terrifying. I remembered this while watching the episode. It wasn't on my initial watch list. I guess I'm scared of more things than I thought. I did say I was scared of everything. Following the theme of women turning into farm animals.
Hello.
There's a 2006 movie called Penelope, which I found by looking up Penelope Pignose, which is a much better title. I've never watched this movie. It's not like, oh, I watched it when I was a kid, hazy memories, I never rewatch it. I have never seen this movie. I was in a hotel room with some family and friends, and this trailer came on the TV, and it was a life-changing experience. So much so, I don't remember why we were in a hotel room, I just remember that specific snapshot. For a trailer that I definitely remember seeing very vividly, it seems like a fake movie. Like, you ever see a trailer for a TV show or a movie on like Hulu, or you're in the movie theater and you see a trailer and you immediately think, that's a laundering scheme, there's no way that's real. This movie has a 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb. It's not good, but it's still too high. I think I was really just a judgmental kid because I remember this pig nose being way worse. She's just like a pretty girl with a bigger nose. This is all actually very telling. Very superficial. What is James McAvoy doing in this movie? What is Reese Witherspoon doing in this movie?
She's out there on her own, declaring her independence.
That's Peter Dinklage. There was a period of time in the 2000s where Peter was only allowed to wear eye patches for some reason. Has anyone actually ever seen this movie? Can you guys confirm this is real? Apparently you can watch it for free on YouTube right now, but I don't want to do that. You have different subsections of your brain. Obviously, you guys have seen the Izzy video, so you know I don't actually know a lot about mental health, even though I pretend I do. So I think I remembered this and internalized it, but categorized this in a file in my head under creepy farm animal transformation thing, along with the That's a Raven episode, so that I thought they were the same thing. But upon further inspection, both of these things scared me relentlessly, but they weren't the main thing that I was thinking of. Wasn't That's a Raven, and it wasn't Penelope. What truly changed me and what I was thinking of the worst was...
You will beware. You're in for a scare.
Goosebumps, like a lot of other kids, has supplied me with a lot of childhood trauma, which is funny because when I go back and watch it...
Put down that weapon, Billy, or you are going to be very, very sorry.
No, I'm not.
Put it down, Billy! Now! Ah!
If you actually watch any other video with the childhood trauma trend, you will see Goosebumps in basically all of them, but I feel like I have a unique perspective, and by that I mean I was scared by the not scary ones. I mean, obviously I was scared of the Haunted Mask and its sequel. One Halloween I was dressed up like Darth Vader because, Star Wars. And at the time I was still afraid of the whole mask situation, not the current mask situation. Ooh, timely. So I didn't want to put on... It wasn't a helmet, it was a Darth Vader like mask that attached in the back, and I didn't want to put it on because I was afraid I would be trapped in a Darth Vader suit. So instead of being Darth Vader for Halloween, I was just like a metal leather gimp. Actually, a lot of Goosebumps episodes are forced transformation. Transform into a monster, transform into an old person, transform into a fat person, use the remote from the movie Click, and the episode is literally titled Click. It's the same plot. But the horrifying transformation that trumps all of that comes from the trilogy. The first part. Some Goosebumps stories were simply too big for the show, so they had to be split into two parts. Sometimes on syndicated television, they would air only one of the parts and leave you high and dry. I think the reason I was so scared of Say Cheese and Die Again is because I ran away before I saw how it ended. No happy endings for this guy. Except for the only three-parter in the original run of Goosebumps, the trilogy. Trilogy being a pun on trilogy. 3 parts. You get it. I don't need to explain this. Funnily enough, this story was made originally for the show. The only episode to not be based on an R.L. Stine story in any way. He didn't even write the episode. It's a little ironic that the one that scared me the most and has the most impact had nothing to do with the creator. That being said, I think the fact that it was a TV show episode first actually helps to make it, well... You'll see. I don't remember grade school at all, aside from the scattered memories of watching DVDs in class. I don't remember why we did it. I don't remember why it was allowed, or why we were even allowed to watch Goosebumps during school. I think it was during recess, but still, not okay. I brought in the DVD of Trilogy, or maybe my sisters did. We owned it, and we put it in, and I'm like, oh, everyone's gonna watch it. And then when it came to the scene I was scared of, I was like, I need to go to the bathroom, because I couldn't just... I don't know, I didn't want to seem like I was scared of it. So I got up and went to the bathroom, but I went like 10 minutes before the scene happened. So I was pacing outside the classroom, kind of peering in the window, making sure I wasn't going to see the horrifying thing. And I had to confirm when the scene was over. So I was like, oh man, is it still happening? Core memory. The episode opens with a girl self-insert character who is about to learn a very valuable lesson. You see, this girl has a greed problem, which is subtly hinted at the song that's playing. Oh, wait, oops. Wait, did I say subtly?
Todd, what a pig!
Speaking of subtle, these two boys are running a yard sale for their family while trying to hide these rare baseball cards from the evil money hoarder.
Let's focus on what's important here. You know, all I really care about are my baseball cards.
She outsmarts them and finds the cards they're trying to hide, and she offers them only $1 measly for it. And he's like, oh man, I don't want to sell it for only $1. Like it isn't up to him. Like if you want more money, then don't sell it to her. Like just wait for someone else to come around. Wait a minute. Maybe I'm getting the wrong idea from... Am I the greedy little piggy? You can tell she loves money because she's got a bunch of monitors with stocks and charts on them. Ah, yes, stocks. It's when the big arrow goes up. Oh, so this is the stock market I've heard so much about. She comes across this model town and it plays the scary music, but honestly, the only scary thing here is this giant woman towering over this poor businessman. Unless he's into that. I don't know what he is.
Carl stole the collector's edition. This could be worth a fortune.
Well, clearly she isn't a true money saver because everyone knows that collector's editions aren't worth shit. She answers her comically large phone and gets sucked into the town, and this is scary in its own right. Like, it's not entirely horror, it's kind of supposed to be goofy, but something about this sterile, empty town with the Always Sunny bar in the background actually makes it really unnerving. Speaking of unnerving, weird Pinocchio girl. That's the last you guys are ever gonna hear of Pinocchio. Oh, who's the one being unsubtle now? All the townspeople are supposed to be plastic figures come to life, but none of them look as strange as she does. But Pinocchio is her new business partner in the new market of lemonade. Man, they're going crazy with these sound effects.
Isn't just any lemonade.
You got it made in the shade with Carl's lemonade.
It's my own.
I can't focus on what's happening. Carl, that's his name, Carl, says one thing. There is one rule. Do not raise the prices. So...
And... I can't be responsible for what happens to greedy little pigs.
What a strange choice of words completely out of context. So they start selling Carl's lemonade for $1 a piece, which maybe I'm used to inflation and buying like brand names at a gas station or something, but that does seem like a steal. But girl character has an idea. If we can't raise the prices, we can just limit the amount. So she tells Pinocchio to fill it only halfway. And then she also raises the prices. You had such a good thing going. You could have swindled people without breaking the one rule. Did the pig line not seem odd to you?
Now what are you doing?
I'm increasing our inventory.
That's cheating.
How is that cheating? Like, I get how gouging prices is cheating, but what did she even do? It looks like she poured the lemonade into another pitcher. What part? Am I missing something? Well, how is this cheating? Regardless, the townspeople start fiending for this lemonade because there's no laws here, so it's probably filled with cocaine.
Look at these people. What happened to them?
Look at all these cash.
Yeah, a lot of cash. That looks to be about like $30. It's all in ones. Our favorite girl has another classic scheme. She'll claim this is the last glass of lemonade and will sell it to the highest bidder. The only reason this goes awry is because she lied about having backup lemonade when she could have just waited to run out naturally. Do you see how many people there are? Most of them are buying multiple. Just wait 5 minutes tops. You could make more money that way. Don't you like money? Oh man, I think I am the filthy little dirty piggy.
Slapping down some pig shit with these fat fucks, and I'm the fattest of them all. If I died tomorrow, no one would shed a tear. Load my freaking lard carcass into the mud. No coffin, please. Just wet, wet mud. Bay.
I shouldn't have said it like that. The local predator knocks over the extra lemonade and everyone turns on her immediately. And then she turns into Scooby-Doo. Not really scary. Raven, okay, I understand. Penelope, nothing. Can we all agree this is still really creepy? Like, for a show that normally has a very small budget, this is insane prosthetics. She actually looks like it's impressive. Another thing that's very telling about me is I always focused on the pig part, that I guess I never noticed that the worst part is that all the townspeople want to kill her. Like in children's horror, there's this general idea of a creature catching you, but they never elaborate on what happens when they catch you. Are they gonna eat you? Are they gonna flick your nose? What's gonna happen? But they chase her and talk about bacon and ham. I guess it's okay to murder a kid on morning television if she's a pig instead of a human. What the fuck is wrong with this show? And why do people think the dummy one is scarier than this? I could easily beat up a dummy.
What have you done to me?
You hugged the prophets.
Alright, dude, chill it with the puns. She's already down. And if this couldn't get any worse, she falls into a pile of mud that every small town has. Pig joke. I hate doing this joke because I feel like everyone does it. I don't mean to imply this is a fetish, and in the end she gets rescued because she decided to give up the money. What a nice moral. Except that's not why she was saved. She gets away because her brother answers the phone. If he didn't answer the phone, then she would have thrown the money and then have been ripped apart by this crowd. Giving up the money didn't save the day. Random brother intervention did. The moral of this story is, have a brother conveniently there to save the day at all times. I guess I'm fucked. The phone isn't even on her ear. The pig ear is up there. After learning some kind of lesson in the most horrifying way possible, she decides to throw the town away right outside her house, but her brother still wants to play with it.
It's yours, on one condition. You sell it back to me.
What?
You said you needed money for Mom's present, right?
Well, yeah, but
I'll give you $50 for it.
$50?
Again, that seems like a terrible deal. This is worth at least 100. The nature of the trilogy is that the story is a 3-parter. So the episode ends on a cliffhanger with the 2 boys from before stealing the town from her trash. What will happen next? We're not gonna cover it because the first episode fucked me up so much that I never watched the other ones. What a nice ending. Upon rewatch, it's actually pretty funny that as a kid, I just didn't pick up on the moral at all. Like, I focused so hard on the punishment that I didn't even notice I was supposed to be learning something. So in the end, all I learned is I'm afraid of becoming a pig. So really, nothing was learned. Something very similar happened to me when I watched the episode of Johnny Test Fat Johnny, P-H-A-T, where Johnny makes fun of fat people the whole episode, so his cosmic punishment is that he himself becomes fat. And I learned nothing from this. All it did was make me afraid of fat people. Come to think of it, I don't think any lessons worked on me, actually. If you think we'd be done with Disney Channel, then you got another thing coming. I just had a whole Cartoon Network episode I could have talked about, but you'll have to kill me if you want me to talk about Johnny Test. I have this vague memory from something really creepy happening in a Disney Channel original movie. They have a lot of Halloween ones, but I couldn't pinpoint which one it was. I thought maybe it could be Don't Look Under the Bed, because that's the one people always talk about. It was way too scary for kids. Maybe it could be Under Wraps because it fits the theme. But no, I figured it out. It's neither of these. I thought I could at least hold my head high that, yeah, I was afraid of the scary Disney Channel movies, but at least I wasn't scared of the silly Halloween Disney Channel movies. Anyway.
Before I even knew I was a witch, that was the last time I was in Halloweentown.
What can be said about Halloweentown that hasn't already been said on this website? Nothing. So I'm going to go through this quickly. I will say this, the sequel, Halloweentown 2, Kalabar's Revenge, the one we're going to talk about, came out in 2001, and it's maybe the most 2001 movie ever. Marnie is a full-blown witch with powers, but now she's also really into the internet. She rides a metal motorcycle broom and saves the day because of her extensive knowledge on hackers.
Like how hackers get into computer programs. They just look for the back door.
Computers have back doors?
Well, back doors are ways of getting into a program if there's a problem.
Ah, yes. Hacking. Up there with stocks.
So this World Wide Web I've heard about, does it involve spiders?
What's a web page? Something ducks walk on?
I forgot how often the plots of these movies is Marnie getting tricked by a hot boy who turns out to be bad. At the end of the first Halloweentown, there is another hot boy who is turned back into a goblin, and it's revealed that he was helping the villain because he wanted to look hot, and he was actually a goblin the whole time. Again, moral went completely over my head. All I learned is that I didn't want to be a goblin. Little did I know as a kid, the sequel would be way worse. Let's address this right now. Halloweentown is not scary. However, what is scary is the concept of being transformed into a freak monster. How many times do I need to explain this before you guys get it? I'm not a pussy. I'm enlightened. The scary part didn't come from the skeletons or witches or monsters. It came from the Halloween dance scene. Basically, this hot boy wants to turn Halloweentown residents into boring humans and the humans into the monsters they mock with costumes. So he sears a creepy mask to the mother's face and goes into her skin as she struggles to rip it off. And then he transforms every person wearing a costume into the monster they're dressed as. Unfortunately, this does not affect the son wearing an offensive mariachi costume. I would have loved to see that. Every creature up until this point has been a cartoony Star Wars creature. Where did they get the rotting goblin costume? The lessons of the other pieces of media we talked about is don't be greedy. Don't make fun of fat people. The moral of this is don't ever wear Halloween costumes ever, children. I know children are watching this. You guys are watching the movie. This is a children's movie. Don't ever wear Halloween costumes or you will be cursed into a freaky, horrifying monster forever. You got that? Children watching this, don't do Halloween anymore. No wonder I didn't want to wear the Darth Vader helmet. But now as an adult, I kind of want to be Darth Vader. Everyone is still very sentient, so they're freaking out. One of them screams out that they can't breathe. I mean, their whole bone structure changed, so that makes sense. Whenever I'm doing these, I like to do the transitions of like, oh, this is the next thing we're talking about. But it seems I'm doing categories under categories, so as another quick little tangent, you guys know about Kane? Kane is a wrestler whose whole thing is that he was the Undertaker's brother who thought he died a long time ago in a fire with the rest of his family. And you guys thought wrestling was stupid. When he first debuted, he was covered head to toe in mask and a whole costume, so you could not see the literal and figurative scars of the burning house he was in. He was in a first blood match, and the rules of a first blood match is you can only win by making your opponent bleed, you know, on like their exposed skin. It's covered head to toe. He still probably lost. And as the years went on, he got more and more revealing clothing, tale as old as time, and his mask started covering less and less of his face until eventually one night he lost a match and had to unmask officially. People in the wrestling community make fun of this a lot. They think it completely halted his momentum and ruined the mystique of the character. And while they're right, this scared the absolute shit out of me. If you watch this the first time the same way I did, on a blurry 240p YouTube video with all his makeup smeared so it kind of looks like his face is horribly disfigured, if you're a kid, I just bring this up because this isn't just a wrestling community thing. It's an everything fandom thing. It's crazy how just a couple of years can make the difference between something lame and cringe and scary and impactful. I like corporate Kane. Anyway, back to Halloweentown, Return of the Witch's Ghost or whatever. Who would have thought that the piece that pushed me over the edge was Halloweentown 2? Meanwhile, at the same time, I was also watching Adult Swim every night. Okay, actually, to be fair,
is violence in movies and sex on TV.
there's an episode of Family Guy titled Petergeist that's just a giant parody of Poltergeist, but I had never seen that movie. The episode itself came out when I was 5. To parody the scene in Poltergeist where the dude thinks his skin is peeling off, so he peels all the skin off until there's nothing left, Peter Griffin
propane.
Alright, that's pretty funny. But I didn't think it was funny at the time. It also didn't help that they kept showing this clip in between commercials to promote King of the Hill coming on the network in 2009. This aired in between each show every night. Every night, as soon as I saw the funny Peter Griffin walk into a bathroom, I had to cover my face with my blanket because I knew Hank Hill was coming. Is finding Peter Griffin scary embarrassing? Yeah. Is finding Hank Hill even scarier, more embarrassing? Yes. So let's move on to something else. Oh, Jesus Christ. The Shaggy Dog 2006 is a remake of a sequel of a book adaptation. After hitting their stride with the first feature-length animated film, but before they hit their renaissance, Walt Disney released a ton of live-action films in the 50s and 60s. Such films as Herbie the Love Bug, The Parent Trap, The Shaggy Dog, Freaky Friday. If you're a 2000s kid, or fine, a 90s kid, you may remember these movies despite them coming out when segregation was still around. That's because all 4 of them were remade, and 3 of the 4 of them were remade with Lindsay Lohan involved. The original Shaggy Dog from 1959 is based on a German story because all the most disturbing children's stories are German in origin. The cover of this tape, at least, it's like, oh, it's charming, there's a dog eating cake. That's not at all what it's about. Also, it's fucking, I didn't even notice this, it's chocolate cake. They would kill your dog. Disney did this thing in the 2000s and 90s while remaking these movies and adapting them for the edgy teen audience. And they're like, well, magic isn't real. We couldn't put magic in this movie. That wouldn't be relatable. It wouldn't make any sense. Foreign mysticism, on the other hand. So instead of the mom and girl from Parent Trap wishing on a star, They go to a Chinese restaurant and get a fortune cookie.
What was she mumbling about in Chinese?
She did something. Some strange Asian voodoo.
Oof. And the Shaggy Dog 2006 is no different. Instead of there being a magic ring, the titular Shaggy Dog lives with Tibetan monks and is a beacon of prayer. Alright? The sequel to the original Shaggy Dog is titled The Shaggy D.A., where the man who turns into a dog is also a lawyer.
I already did, sir. The truck is waiting outside. Out of my way!
Or at least I think so. I didn't watch it. But I totally could have. The Shaggy D.A. and the original Shaggy Dog are on Disney+, which makes it even funnier that the most recent 2006 Tim Allen film is not. I had to buy this movie on YouTube. If you followed me for a long time or have watched the other Natter Chamber videos, then you will know this is not the first live-action Disney Tim Allen film where he slowly transforms into something that scared me that I'm going to talk about, but I'm done talking about the Santa Claus. I never want to do it again. Except, did you know they're making a new The Santa Claus series for Disney Plus coming out this year? Bernard's in it. He's back. Don't make me talk about that one. I saw the cover for the Shaggy D.A. in a Walmart once as a kid, and I had nightmares that the dog in the suit would come into my room and turn me into a dog. I don't even think the dog in the suit appears in the movie. That's like if you saw the cover for Kangaroo Jack and then had nightmares about talking kangaroos when... I got bad news for you. The only reason I bring up the weird sequel is because The Shaggy Dog 2006 heavily features a lawyer plotline. Weird movie to choose for inspiration, but alright. We'll get to the law in a second, but first let's talk about our main guy, Tim Allen. Cocaine salesman. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Tim Allen was Disney's guy. He was on a roll. Toy Story, The Santa Claus, Jungle to Jungle. But nowadays, they recast Buzz Lightyear. At least he got his Santa Claus show. But before all of that, and even more before he became the conservative dad on right-wing sitcoms, he was the conservative dad on normal sitcoms. He was Tim the Tool Man, a man with no discernible features beyond his classic catchphrase. So when all the Disney executives gathered in a meeting room together to figure out how to update the Shaggy Dog for modern at-the-time audiences, somebody thought, Funny Dad, make dog noise. What if Funny Dad, he plays dad again, but turn into dog so he can make dog noise? Or something like that. The Shaggy Dog 2006 is a film about a terrible father learning how much his family hates him by turning into a dog. This was a genre. There used to be a film coming out every year about a dad getting cursed and learning that he works too hard or something. It's worth noting that Evan Almighty scared me almost as much as the Santa Claus did, but I forgot that movie existed right after I watched it. Tim Allen is a bad dad.
You know what your problem is, Dave? You hate dogs.
Who evidently hates dogs. Thanks, person. His teenage daughter is rebellious and acts out, but right-wing comedian Tim Allen won't let that shit fly, and his son is a disappointment, I guess. It has come to my attention that I was a huge pussy as a kid, but I already knew that, and I was scared of way more things than I had on my actual list that I had to cut for time because this is not going to be the video that exceeds 5 hours. I was also scared of the live-action Cat in the Hat, not for any transformation reasons, it's just like the creepy corpse face, and the kid in that is also in the Shaggy Dog, and they came out around the same time, so anytime this kid came on screen in anything, I knew to run and hide.
Heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, obesity, and yes, even baldness.
Damn, movie, you gotta zoom in on that guy? What is this, the Wendy Williams show?
All right, clap if you think she should suffer.
And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. That is, in fact, Robert Downey Jr. in the hit film Shaggy Dog 2006. The story I've always been told was that Downey was doing too many drugs and was on track to ruin his career and life, and then Marvel took a chance on him and saved his life. Iron Man came out in 2008. After this movie, like right after. The Shaggy Dog nearly killed Robert Downey Jr. This movie may seem out of character for him until you remember that his next big film after Avengers Endgame was Doolittle. The man loves his animals. Well, surely that'll be the last surprise cast member in this movie about lawyers. Is that Kim Wexler?
Unless you want me to go for you, because I will.
No, thanks. Thanks.
Is Tim Allen a good lawyer?
When I knew him, he was.
I'm gonna get a lot of mileage out of this joke. Iron Man kidnaps the 300-year-old dog and wants to do experiments on it, but the dog yields a syringe and immediately starts fighting for its life. Shouldn't have given the mystical Tibetan dog a shiv. I gotta say, I do absolutely love Downey's villain performance here. I don't think he cares what movie he's in. He's given the performance of his life. The dog escapes with the help of the daughter, who is protesting the lab with her disgusting commie hippie friends, and Tim just can't handle it. You see, Tim is on the legal team defending Doolittle and the company he works for, which he knows is currently doing inhumane things to animals. The dog finally bites the dad, and we get to the horrifying transformation part of the piece. It continues like clockwork. Fears stay with you. As a kid, you have a recurring thing, and I remember a lot of the things I watched being with me for like a month, maybe. The Shaggy Dog was all-encompassing, so I fully expected it to be way more horrifying, and then I could talk about it. The movie doesn't show it as much as I remembered. And also with the other stuff, I'm like, oh, this is scary, but I could understand why people liked it, and why even I kept going back to watch it. I remember this movie being scary. I don't remember it being bad, but it is. It's a bad movie. Tim Allen does wacky dog stuff in the courtroom, like chase his tail and have a big CGI tongue. And then he has a Jimmy Neutron brain blast and becomes the Shaggy Dog. How is this terrible father gonna get out of this wacky scenario?
That me? It's impossible. That can't be me. I'm barking now? Did someone knock me out and put me in a dog costume?
Congratulations, you have somehow thought of a less likely scenario than turning into a dog. In everything we've seen so far tonight, the character fights the transformation and freaks out. Tim Allen accepts his fate immediately. Like, he doesn't seem that upset about this. Even Shaggy kinda didn't want to race.
Which can only mean one thing. I'm a dog. Weirder things have happened.
What possible things have happened to you in your life that this is not the weirdest? Was it the cocaine? Tim Allen Dog returns to the family to prove to them that he is now, in fact, a dog and not a man. But unfortunately, what would normally be a cause of distress, like their dad missing, falls on deaf ears because their dad sucks and this is not out of the ordinary for him. They hate their dad so much that they didn't report him missing for days. He does become a human for a little bit, so I guess that explains why they don't look for him, I guess. He uses this opportunity to not explain anything and go into work the next day.
Have you ever heard of a man turning into a dog?
Well, they all do eventually, don't they?
Here comes the quiz portion of our show. I want you guys, in your head, to imagine, to guess, a 2006 family film about a dog who just got loose. What song would they pick? Because I guarantee you're gonna get it on your first try.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Yeah, there's no way I'm gonna be able to monetize this, much less the imagery, but I gotta put, it's so important I keep that song in. We get back to the only actor doing a good job explaining his evil plan.
Is he dead?
No, he's not dead. He's fully conscious, but he's unable to speak. Doctors will think it's dementia. The drug itself will wear off in a few months.
Okay. But what happens after that? Okay, I'm sorry. What's stopping him from turning you in after the poison wears off? Like, he has proof of all of this happening. Wouldn't they check his blood? This is a terrible plan. Oh, speaking of terrible plan, Tim Allen Dog has heard one too many stories about how he's a bad dad, but he also heard that his son wants to do musicals instead of being in football, so that takes top priority. I gotta set him straight. Tim Allen Dog knocks over some Scrabble letters that spells out "I am dad," and the kids instantly believe this. He spells out who did this to him and how it happened, and they again have no questions. Okay, but I'm not them. I have some questions. There's other plot questions that are more important, but this takes top priority. Why did you lick your daughter's face? I know this is a normal dog thing to do, but it's her dad, and she knows it's her dad. Does this normally happen? This family is more dysfunctional than we thought. They also can't hear him.
And something else?
I know.
Deal?
It's a deal.
We get his internal monologue, but they can't hear him, so I guess this was just another insane coincidence. Did they forget about this part? Tim Allen tries to jump to action, but the lab people shoot him with a laser gun. that they have, I guess. How many family movies have you seen where a dog gets shot dead? Does Old Yeller count? While trapped in this cage, he manages to bite Tony's hand, and right as we get a close-up of the most terrifying imagery in the movie, he turns back into Tim Allen. Just you wait until the dog costume unzips. The rest of the movie is just Tim Allen doing bits and prop comedy with these animals. I know most monkeys of a certain size look more or less interchangeable, but I swear I know this monkey. I've seen this monkey in a bunch of other weird children's movies. He's a very famous monkey. And then a bigger chimp going crazy. Fist bump, buddy, am I right? Tim Allen puts together an ingenious escape to just get electrocuted again. How many times are they going to use this thing? I take back everything I said. This is the greatest film ever made. Yeah, Tim's just doing bits with the animals now. I think this scene and the one dog noise he makes is all they pitched for this movie.
To infinity and beyond!
Please remember my more popular character. I've spared you guys on most of the movie so far to quickly speed through it. Just know that every time he's the dog, we get an internal monologue filled with hilarious quips. Remember that 2016 Kevin Spacey film 9 Lives where they just dub Kevin over some footage of a cat to try and make it funny? It's like that. The kids explain the entire plot of the movie to the mom, who also just believes them.
But it can't be. He's a dog.
Lady, it's either you believe this or you don't, alright? You gotta pick a stance and stick to it. Because this is an adaptation of the lawyer-themed sequel, the climax has to take place in the courtroom. Now, I know nothing about law. Lucky for me, neither does this movie. Tim Allen has been taken off the case, yet he burst in talking about new random evidence against his own client, and they'd let him do it. YouTube channel Legal Eagle needs to analyze hit film 2006's The Shaggy Dog. This judge sucks.
If that isn't evidence of genetic mutation, I don't know what is.
On second thought, bailiff, take him into custody.
What are you talking about? And then he becomes a DA. That's a nice little reference, but I don't mean to imply that lawyers are by default immoral. I understand why they're important. But what is this movie exactly trying to say? I get that he's a bad dad and he needs to be a better dad, but also in the movie, he backs this evil Saturday morning cartoon Dr. Claw company against his kids' wishes, and they're like super inhumane, and then by the end of the movie he learns these guys are bad, I'm not gonna support them, I'm going against them this time. But then he continues to be a lawyer. He became the DA. Now, I'm not saying lawyers are evil, but that's what the movie's saying. He's bad for supporting these people. He's still a lawyer. It could happen again. It probably will happen again. A lawyer's job is to defend companies like that. So what did he learn? He does, however, go against the real Tim Allen's wishes and supports his kids and their progressive ideas.
My older daughter's atheist, and I said, well, philosophically, it's an irony there, too, because atheists don't believe in God. Well, there has to be a God for you not to believe in. And my daughter goes, Then the movie ends with the family taking a nice vacation together and the CG dog surfs some waves. I wish I didn't watch that. And yet I'm relieved. The Santa Claus movies were all their own video. I was thinking maybe sometime down the line I would review Shaggy Dog. This seems like the perfect time to do it. But now I never want to go back. And I never can go back to the way my life was. I think the reason so many specifically Disney stories irreparably fucked me up is because so many of those stories involve being transformed into something, and that's what I was afraid of. What if you turned into a frog? What if you turned into a big red panda? What if you turned into a college student and had to give away all your toys? That's the scariest one. But from time to time, there comes something that isn't even really that scary, but then the internet does all the heavy lifting. Have you ever watched like a cartoon lost media video where the entire video is there to make you feel unsettled? It uses creepy music, the narrator is speaking slowly, and you feel fear, but they're just talking about like a cartoon that nobody's seen. But I'm not saying this to shit on lost media because I think it's really interesting and I engage with it. However, completely unrelated from the whole lost media search about it, I was terrified of the SpongeBob episode titled I Was a Teenage Gary. And of course, videos have been made since about like, oh, what mystery scene did they cut out? But I'm not worried about what was cut out. I'm worried about the scene that was in the episode, which goes like this.
I left it anyway. Now I don't have to buy those new shoes. I take it back, Gary. Something is wrong with me.
What exactly am I supposed to find jovial and silly about this? He's in immense pain. And then Squidward spends the rest of the episode just ignoring his cries for help. Classic Squidward. And then, of course, he accidentally stabs himself, but we don't see his transformation because instead we get a really weird screen wipe. What a strange way to transition to the next scene, considering SpongeBob always uses the bubbles for transition. It's not worth thinking more about. Moving on. And then it ends, and we get a bittersweet ending with no resolution. Imagine how betrayed I felt that my own best friend SpongeBob would scare me like this. There's a lot of opportunities I had in my life, but that is truly when I learned I could not trust anyone. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the internet making things scary that aren't scary. Gravity Falls is not a scary show. It's actually a really funny show, but that didn't stop it from having a fun mystery behind it. Before the portal, before 3 journals, before the twin, before Weirdmageddon, all we had was the title sequence. A little sequence with a hidden Bigfoot, a backwards message, and this cipher wheel. I've gone on too many tangents. I'll let the cipher wheel slide. But what's important for this story is the message, which played backwards yields the result. The 3 letters back message refers to the way you are supposed to decode all the hidden codes in the series and extended media. You know, messages left in the end of episodes, during episodes, and flash games. Back in the day, every new show that hit the airwaves and was also directed at kids would get an online browser flash game, and Gravity Falls is no different. The first flash game, Mystery Shack Mystery, is a simple point-and-click finding game on the outside, but on the inside, it's still that. But it has a secret message in it. A message that decodes as "Ever notice Stan's tattoo?" Watching shows as the kid, it was kind of like a book club. You would gather everyone together and we would discuss. Back when me and my friends were discussing Gravity Falls, there were like 5 episodes that were out. You would think there wouldn't be a lot to go off of in that. But the internet moves fast. Except for the fact that the first episode ends with Stan looking suspicious and heading down a secret elevator, combined with the other little code in the theme song that comes out as "Stan is not what he seems." Of course, now with hindsight, after seeing the series multiple times, I know what these messages meant, and it's cool that they knew the whole time. And Stan's just a silly guy in the show. However, that didn't stop me from watching theory videos. This was early days without any fandom around the show, so we had to watch videos that started like this. Legitimately, at the time, I was like, man, if only I could just make a YouTube video. I thought these guys were smarter than me because they could use Windows Movie Maker. So in the dark of the night, with my best friend sleeping beside me, I would watch all these videos about why Stan should be feared with creepy, eerie music playing in the background, and they started to convince me that the old dude was something worth fearing. Mind you, in the show at this point, he is still a silly, goofy guy, and he just did the whole, oh, my ex-wife still misses me, but her aim is getting better. I lost sleep because of this guy. He was by no means scary in the actual show he was presented in. That didn't stop me from shitty slideshow YouTube videos from convincing me that he is scary. Imagine being so suggestible that you watch one long video and then believe a crazy conspiracy about a cartoon. Anyway, it was good cross-promotion. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff I shouldn't have been scared of, but I'm especially not proud of being afraid of Grunkle Stan. But again, the internet has a lot of sway with convincing kids what to be afraid of and also other important emotions, especially if they're on it all the time. Maybe being terminally online since the age of 5 wasn't a good thing. And then a little bit later, when the legitimate Halloween episode came out that actually scared way more people and was like, oh, this is the scary thing in the show, I thought nothing of it. The part in my brain that was scared of the show was already taken up by crusty old guy. As much as I would love to get away from the Disney chokehold we're currently in, there's still a lot more things in their wheelhouse that scared me. But the next one isn't even their movie. They just aired it all the time. But to be fair, all of the kids' networks aired it all the time. It must have been cheap to get the rights. If you're a 2000s, or heck, let's give them another shot, a 90s kid, you may relate to this next one. We're going to have a little Goosebumps situation here where most people are going to be like, oh yeah, I totally agree. Those thumb guys are super freaky. But I'm not here to talk about the thumb guys. I'm here to talk about the existential horror of, you guessed it, being forcefully transformed into a monster creature against your will. When I see the logo of this film normally, it looks fine, but seeing it in the opening, it looks really strange. Oh yeah, they rebooted the Spies series in 2035 and made it about their kids. There was probably like a year or so that I watched this every month. I haven't seen this in forever. I forgot they lived in a giant castle. You would think these are like James Bond spies, right? I think these parents are lying to their kids. They were definitely just hitmen. They wouldn't have pictures of their targets if they were just going to spy on them. These two were planning on murdering each other before they got married. I was very confused in this whole ride from start to finish as the result of my hazy memories. I thought that the kids knew the parents were spies, or spies in quotation marks, because of the story they're told apparently every night. But when they both realize this, we get the iconic line.
My parents can't be spies. They're not cool enough.
What? Okay, your parents make you do rigorous training every morning and you thought this was normal? I can't really blame the kids considering they were kept away from the outside world for years, trapped inside a castle Rapunzel style. These parents are on track to raise two psychopaths. The girl kicks the boy off the bars and then he chucks a heavy blunt object next to her head and her reaction is Butterfingers? That would have killed you. You're flexible, you're not invincible. The icing on the terrible parents' cake is that the dad is constantly disappointed in his son. We're never getting away from Tim Allen, are we? There's a plot very similar to this in The Incredibles where the dad believes they're all destined for greatness and he doesn't want to hide it anymore. And you like The Incredibles. Now imagine The Incredibles, except Dash is autistic and kind of weak and his dad constantly is disappointed in him and makes it known how much he hates him. Fun movie.
It's the mummy. Nice looking bandages, mummy. Hey, stop, man. When I'm talking to you, you listen.
All right, well, time to go beat up a kid. The show that Junie, the disappointment son, is obsessed with is titled Floops Fooglies, starring the titular... Oh my god, what's wrong with your face? And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, our first look. I wasn't afraid of the thumb robots or the spy clones or the actual danger in this movie. I was afraid of the horrifying walking nightmare that is Floops Fooglies. It sounds bad to say. Not only are these dudes really freaky looking, but in a fun little twist just for the kids, they're also prisoners who have been horribly disfigured as punishment. Yay! The reason the spy parents have to go investigate Floop is because all the previous spies were captured and turned into these monstrosities. They let you know later that they don't have the ability to think, so that there's no pain, but that's not true. They converse with the kids when they show up. Of course, they can only talk in reverse, leading to the horrifying hidden message, Floop is a madman, help us, save us. Floop is a madman, help us, save us. As long as we're talking about stuff being drilled in your head permanently, as far as the tier list goes, there's Thing I Was Scared Of, and Floop Jingle. From time to time, we get to see the torture scenes as this man-child plays with the forming clay he sends his enemies through a painful transformation. And it is painful. A lot of the time, I just kind of hyperbolize. We see it happen, and this is not the face of a man who is currently at peace. No, his bone structure is being morphed and changed, and it fucking kills, but he isn't allowed to die. Yay! He turns the dad into the kid's drawing, and then they forgive him. This wasn't my plan. I just want to bring joy to kids. Okay, but you aren't stupid. Like, you're a man. You knew this was happening. This is a very iconic film for a lot of people my age, so I ask this. Why is Floop not a Tumblr sexy man? He does stuff that's really bad and then gets redeemed anyways, and he's friendly to kids. Maybe a little too friendly to kids. At the end of the movie, all is well, and he figures out the thing that was missing from his horror show. Children. Throughout the movie, the evil guys are working on these clones of children who they name Spy Kids. Again, they're just hitmen, but they are modeled after real children. There are two of them that are specifically noted as the president's kids. And then at the end, they just let a bunch of them roam free, and the rest of the world is like, okay, a bunch of kids are being good Samaritans and saving people. Hey, that one looks a lot like my daughter. Anyway, that's kind of weird. The president doesn't care that exact clones of his children are now appearing on the news. And even worse, clones of Carmen and Junie are made permanent fixtures of his kid show. I don't think they wrote off on that. Your likenesses are being used for the top children's show in the world, and you're not even getting residuals. Earlier in the movie, they check the sister clone's tag, and it says 1 of 500, and we don't have time to unpack the implication that she was the first one they made. Aside from the, psychological horror, these kids are put in way more actual danger than I remember. I just remember them fighting funny thumbs in an evil lair. I forgot the part where everyone tries to murder them.
Almost there!
Oh, we gotta change the title to Spy Kid now. Because, there's only one kid left.
Bad hair day.
You just watched a lady's face get burned off. You are 8. Look at these weird looking shark models. It's a good thing this guy is never gonna make a movie where you have to see the sharks up close and talking. And on top of all the horrifying shit, upon rewatching this movie, maybe just all the other movies I had to rewatch that were just miserable, but it is pretty fun. There's a reason it's still fondly remembered to this day on top of being aired all the time. It doesn't have like a great story, but it's got really fun creature and set design, and that's all you need as a kid and as an adult with a kid brain. Danny Trejo shows up in the middle. His character's name is Machete in this. There's this microwave that can make anything you ask, and I wanted the shit out of this as a kid. I want it right now, actually. Give it. You guys solved world hunger and you're keeping it locked up in your bunker. It really is just a matter of when you catch something that shapes whatever impact it has. This had a negative impact on me because I was a kid, but something lit up in the back of my head every time it was on that made me want to rewatch it, so I caught it every time. When I got out of the hell that was adolescence and into the super hell that was preteen Dom, I would purposefully search out stuff that made me feel uncomfortable and scared me. Movies without their set design and kind of weird writing and interesting, creepy character design is totally my jam now. Like, I love shit like that. It just, if I saw it as a kid, it wouldn't have been positive. I would have been scared by it. Perfect segue. Speaking of Tumblr sexy man. This is generational trauma. I don't think that's what that means. People who grew up with the original got scarred by the hell ride and the terrible fates of the children. I unfortunately grew up with the Tim Burton version and got scared by a whole heap of other stuff. And I'm sure there's kids of the future who will be horrified by Timothy Chalamet or something. I like that the remake is really weird. I mean, the Buckets live in a sideways slanted house. Doesn't get more Tim Burton than that. And I wanted to try and cover obscure stuff that maybe people don't remember or just don't know about, but everyone makes the same observation about Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is, oh my god, this dude killed kids in his factory. And whenever you're remaking something, you're like, well, I'm smarter than the internet, I'll add something even if it makes it worse. So to amend this, they added a scene at the end where all the kids walk out of the factory, but have all been like terribly mutilated. And for me, that's a fate worse than death. I would have preferred if they were just dead, canonically. I would have been less scared if instead of this scene, they just showed like 4 tombstones next to each other. Turning into a big inflated blue woman is bad enough, but they juiced the sauce out of her and now she's flexible. That one's not as bad, honestly. She's probably traumatized, though. Veruca gets off super easy considering she cheated using her daddy's money to get in. Like, at least Violet and Augustus actually got lucky, but no, we're only supposed to care about Charlie. I need an original observation, and my original observation is the hate Augustus endures in this movie is insane. Willie himself is cold to all the kids who come into his factory, but he particularly really hates Augustus for some reason. It makes sense you hate Gum, you don't like stuck-up kids, and Mike TV is a psychopath. But Augustus's problem is that he likes chocolate too much. That's your whole thing. It's like a fairy tale moral. You gotta be a good kid like Charlie. All the other kids are spoiled and rotten. Augustus is just fat. Like, he loves his parents, but he just eats a lot. I mean, he does fall into the shit river by being greedy, I guess, and no one even cares a little bit. I know this movie has always been compared to the original, but the original chocolate looks way more appetizing. The remake has this weird scene where it looks like doo-doo feces is raining down on this guy. Like, why is Charlie excited about this? I thought he was supposed to be the second coming. Why is he laughing? And once you guys heard I was talking about the remake in the Fear Factor I'm doing, you probably thought I was talking about these animatronic dudes, but I'm not. I'm like Augustus over here. I'm enjoying myself while all the other kids scowl. Hey, Willie, I think you found your heir. A kid who both loves chocolate and appreciates your showmanship. And you push him to the side because he fell in one river. Veruca just got in because her dad is, quote, I'm in the nut business, you see. And Mike TV does like 4chan levels of doxing.
All you have to do is check the manufacturing dates, offset by weather, and the derivative of the Nikkei index.
Like, this isn't luck, and I know it's supposed to be a lottery, but he clearly tried super hard for this. Does the reward not go to the kid who shows the most initiative? Charlie turns you down immediately to go to sleep in the old person hell suit bed, and then Mike TV gets permanently stretched and flattened, and I was never the same. This is the worst fate out of all of them. I talked about some books earlier, but I don't have the time to talk about the effect Flat Stanley had on me either. He gets the worst fate because he jumped in your stupid TV teleporter. Willie is supposed to be an innovative genius, and his new bright idea is teleporting a giant chocolate bar to a tiny chocolate bar to everyone's TVs through a commercial, and it's like, hey, the first one's on the house to get them addicted like cocaine. Maybe I don't have an addictive personality, but you know, if I wanted it, I would simply wait for the next time the commercial aired. Commercials air all the time. Have you ever gone back to watch an old rip of TV and like speed through it? The same commercial will air every 30 minutes. We've seen this big-ass machine send it to one TV. It's easy enough to shrink something, but you need to duplicate this millions of times. How you gonna do that, Wonka? That one's going on the list. Yet another similarity with Spy Kids. What's with these movies and accidentally solving world hunger? The original was already scary, but giving the reins of the remake to Tim Burton is just asking for more screams. Every little thing in this movie is made more unsettling. Grandpa Joe in the original is like a mustached, charming old man. This Joe is a creepy corpse man. I hesitated. Is that mean? I think it's really mean, actually. I'll keep it in.
Of course, I was a much younger man in those days. Willy Wonka began with a single store on Cherry Street.
Wait a minute, how old is this guy? Officially now, as of 2022, I have finished the trifecta of Christopher Lee, as I have watched Count Dooku, Dr. Wonka, and Saruman. Remember when I mentioned Dr. Dolittle earlier? We're in very specific circumstances right now, and I don't know when I'm gonna get another chance to talk about this movie, so I need to mention this. The scene where Wonka goes to kidnap his slaves, he eats this bug goo, like this. And the positive impact this movie had on me is that after I saw this, we had the DVD of it, I would eat my syrup like that. So we would get like pancakes and syrup some mornings, and I would dip my little finger in the syrup and go like that and let it go down. Pokemon. Originally, when I was planning this out, I just had a little bullet point titled Pokemon. I was going to talk about Sabrina and how she only talks through a creepy doll and turns all the characters into sentient toys that can't move. I didn't start with the first season of the anime, but I did eventually go back. But God, it's just got such a strange charm that it loses the more it starts to, you know, makes sense. Ash loses to Sabrina and then goes to a haunted house to get a ghost type, dies tragically, and then gets a haunter. Good episode. The show blatantly says the way to beat Sabrina is with a ghost type. Not only is this not true in Gen 1, Psychic is super effective against ghosts due to an oversight in the code. To this day, the Haunter line, Ghastly Haunter Gengar, is still weak to Psychic even after the glitch was fixed on account of them being part poison. I don't blame the show, by the way, considering those three, that entire ghost line, are the only ghost types in the entire game. Similar to what I said about Total Drama Island, Gen 1. I feel like people like the first one, and they're wrong. Building on top of that, instead of talking about the first season, I'm actually going to talk about something that not many people talk about, being an important footnote in my fucking scary childhood. I don't know if you couldn't tell by my hair or my ring or my shirt, I love Darkrai. As a kid, I played through Pokemon terribly, probably on account that I wasn't reading very well at the time. Remember earlier when I said I didn't read a lot of books? I played the opening of Pokemon Diamond over and over for months because I couldn't figure out how to save the game. And then when I was saving the game, I didn't get very far, but then I eventually got a Darkrai event. And in Pokemon, if you get traded a Pokemon, you know, that doesn't have your original trainer title, if you got traded it, it won't obey or listen to you if you don't have a certain amount of badges. But I didn't know that, so I just assumed this was exclusively a Darkrai thing, and he wouldn't listen to me because he was cool and edgy, and it tracked. But I'm not here talking about the game. Aside from Majora's Mask, I don't think there were any games that scared me. I'm here to talk about the movie. Similar to Jessie giving up her Dustox compared to Ash giving up his Butterfree, this isn't gonna make sense if you know what I'm talking about. People refuse to acknowledge that the show gets way better after the first season. Gen 1ers, Season 1, it happens all the time. This is what, the 10th time Ash has to go on a life-threatening adventure because of a legendary? I would simply just turn away if I saw even one more. Darkrai does a lot of heinous things to this commune of people for the entire duration of this movie. Most of these movies have the plot of the legendary must be saved, it's just trying to defend itself. This movie's plot is Darkrai is a dick and he sucks, which is awesome. He traps them in a tiny town where if they leave, they pop right back in Lostwood style while lobbing energy blasts at them. But we've been here a long time. I've talked about a lot of stuff. You guys know the drill by now. Oh, when's a character gonna turn into something? Just be patient. It's gonna happen right now.
Maybe so, but can you explain what you're up to?
Well, what?
The camera does add a few extra pounds.
This isn't like other movies or episodes we talked about where it's a difficult magic spell or an accident or a curse that does this. Darkrai can just do this at any point, whenever he wants. At any point when you come across Darkrai, you can be made into a giant pink blob of a man. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon did this too, but at least you get all the upsides of being strong. I love Licky Licky more than most people, but I don't want to be one. Nobody wants to be Licky Licky. When I was planning this out and racking my brain for stuff that scared me, I always thought the video would end with Willy Wonka. Honestly, the last thing I'm going to talk about, compared to everything else I talked about, any other year would be the least important thing. But not this year. You see, I constantly, completely accidentally, have really good timing for when I release these videos. I was totally prepared to talk about another creepy old Disney movie with a creepy transformation very quickly, and then be done with it. And then in 2022, they're doing another one. And another one. And another one. What a surprise, the movie from the 40s is creepy. That's just the nature of old movies, especially animated ones. This movie is a beloved classic, apparently, and one of the few pre-Renaissance Disney movies I actually watched as a kid. How would anyone have known it would have fucked me up? It's a Disney's kid cartoon. I've been making funny little quips and observations about all the movies we've covered so far, but honestly, what can I say that hasn't already been said about this fucking movie? You get what you pay for. Strange old guy with no family, a cat, a goldfish, who makes questionable clocks, makes a wooden boy, and fucks up raising him so bad that he gets swallowed by a whale. Upon rewatch, Geppetto is barely in this movie, considering he's the one that made it happen. Pinocchio didn't ask to be born. I mean, I give him props for living the base life of no kids, no wife, only cat and fish, but he should have kept it that way. He gets a kid, plays with him for an hour, and then goes to bed and sends him away. Alright, and then Pinocchio has to grapple with right and wrong when he was just born from nothing and has a gaping hole where his brain should be. Oh yeah, universe, let's punish the wooden boy who probably doesn't even have object permanence yet. I don't remember these cat guys at all. I do like, however, that whenever they mention becoming an actor, there's a horror sting.
I'm gonna be an actor.
All right, son. Take it easy now.
Pinocchio, an actor? Pff, you're being hysterical. So he does a little dance for a man named Stromboli, and that would be awesome if this weren't the 40s. Then he gets whisked away to Pleasure Island to smoke, drink, and party with a bunch of other dudes. You don't even have to have seen this movie to know what's going on, alright? Anyone with a basic understanding of storytelling knows what's gonna happen. The guy who runs Pleasure Island is using all these free things to turn all the kids into jackasses so they can sell the donkeys on the slave trade or use them for manual labor. That's the hero's journey. A very important plot point is that the boys turn into literal jackasses, but not the funny ones. I don't mean to sound pretentious or worse, like a teacher, but my goal here is to make you guys feel what I felt. The mark of a good writer is if I can use only words and the way I read them to have you guys feel what I felt in that exact moment, to convey the horror with just my words. That being said, I honestly think the best thing I can do right now is just show
Help! Help! Somebody help! I've been raped! Help! Please, you gotta help me! Be a pal! Call that beetle! Call anybody! Mama!
Got it? You okay? Did you faint? Finally, a children's movie has found the most terrifying way to portray a transformation, calling out for his mom and squealing in fear. It only took 80 years ago, Pinocchio's alleged best friend, he does say in the movie he's his best friend, gets mutilated and presumably tortured forever, and his last words were, "Help and go get my mom." Pinocchio gets caught up saving his crazy-ass old dad from a giant whale, don't ask. So he gets a little sidetracked, but then the movie ends with no resolution to the whole Pleasure Island thing. The horrifying thing about Pinocchio as a whole is that terrible things are just a common occurrence, and the best thing you could do is just ignore them. It's scarier now than ever. I don't know when this is set, but there's gotta be like a cop or maybe angry townspeople who you could tell about this. There's a child donkey ring right across the ocean. Nah, sorry, we can't do anything, son I made. Them's international waters. Oh, that's okay, new weird dad. They're all bad kids. They deserve to be punished forever. And then they all live happily ever after with their weird spanking cuckoo clock. To quote a man who made videos for a channel that folded and no longer makes videos, it's always ass slap a clock there. And that's all I have to say about Pinocchio 1940. And that would be all I would have to say if it was any other year, but unfortunately we're living in the year 2022. And there's more Pinocchio. 2022, the year Disney decided to make a live-action remake of Pinocchio right before Guillermo del Toro was also about to release his Pinocchio movie. Not a coincidence. I'm sure his will be the much better movie with a lot more heart, actual set design, it's stop motion, better tone. However, we're here talking about trauma, and Pinocchio as a story didn't give it to me. Pinocchio, the Disney character, did. The question is, though, trauma-wise, and I guess movie-wise, fine, if we're going to review a movie, how does Disney hold up against itself? Gather the Midnight Society here to tell the final scary story of the night. And we're going to review Disney's new Pinocchio movie to see if it actually is as scary as the one I watched as a kid. Not really a review, then. We're just... Let's get into it.
Mamma mia! A wooden boy! Hey!
Pinocchio!
What have you done?
I don't think this is the right Pinocchio. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to the original, but it seems like they actually added a lot. In these modern Disney remakes, of course, they're trying to make the movies longer because, as a society, I guess we decided that long movies make them better. But they use this opportunity to add a lot more scenes and a lot more context to stuff that was just kind of vague in the originals, and also try and add a new original song sang by the new female lead so they can win Best Original Song for a movie that already exists, but the song doesn't mesh with the others at all because it doesn't sound like a musical song. It sounds like a pop song you'd hear on the radio in 2013. Let It Go did irreparable damage to Disney's brain. What makes this even more insulting is the other new song that's right after the ballerina one is so much better. It's the best change and legitimately might be the best song in any Pinocchio movie. It helps that it's basically a villain song. So in this version, it's heavily implied that Geppetto had a boy once who tragically died, so he made a wooden puppet to cope with his loss and deteriorating mental state. And I'm fine with that as long as he doesn't harm his weird CGI fish and cat.
My clocks, they mean everything to me.
You know, you really shouldn't do that. Like, obviously, this is the better alternative to them possibly overworking a real cat. Famously hard to negotiate with. But then just, I don't know, make a stuffed animal and throw it in there. Would you guys believe this movie was directed by the guy who brought us Mars Needs Moms? So he makes a wooden boy, and then a wishing star shoots across, just like the original. He makes a wish, just like the original. But this one, we don't get to hear. They probably did this so it doesn't seem as strange that he chose to animate a wooden boy instead of just bringing back the old one. When the fairy appears later, it's kind of implied that that isn't what Geppetto wanted exactly, and wishing stars work off of genie rules where, well, you didn't specify he wasn't supposed to be a puppet. The dead son detail is fine and all, but in a situation like this, you're compelled to add scenes that explain everything. So you write a Star Wars story scene where Tom Hanks goes, "You're made of pine. Pinocchio, your name is Pinocchio." And whenever you think about writing that scene, don't. If you want to explain something, then explain why all the clocks are Disney movies now. Huh? What about that? But very nice of them to at least keep the ass spanking clock. They just added a nice police officer to stop this woman from beating her kid. Why even make the clock man? If you think this is bad, you could just like not. I thought they were hell-bent on fixing some things this time around, but this time he decides on school in the middle of the night. They made him get fed up with the wood boy even faster. He's alive for 5 minutes and then you're like, ah, what this boy needs right now is an education. So he sends him off to school by himself and everything is pretty much the same except that he smells a poop on the street for a really long time. I should note that this is all in jest. I don't actually believe that old movies need to be fixed, and I kind of really hate the idea that 2D animated films need to be updated or fixed in any way. I think the original movie's fine. I fundamentally disagree and preemptively dislike the idea of making a live-action remake of an animated film. That being said, Keegan-Michael Key knocks the performance of Honest John out of the park here. It's my favorite part. Jordan Peele went on to make horror classics, and Keegan-Michael Key went on to fulfill his theater kid duty, and honestly, I could not be happier for both of them. He absolutely kills it. I love everything that comes out of this guy's mouth.
He is a natural-born actor, right, Gideon? And not just an actor, an entrepreneur, nay, an influencer!
Except for that.
We need a simple, strong stage name. Slab Oakley. Chad Log? I've got it. Chris Pine. Nah, it'd never work.
And that.
Hi, diddly day. An actor's life is gay.
All right, I'm back on board now. Yada yada, new girl character, yada yada, new original song, yada yada, moving on. There are basically two reasons you would change stuff in a live-action Disney remake. One, to just extend the runtime of the movie, or maybe add some context. Two, to make Disney seem like they were always progressive. Remake of Dumbo, no crows. Remake of Lion King, no Ed. Inevitable remake of Hunchback? Oh, we'll fucking see. There's a character in the original Pinocchio that is also referred to by the big GY. Not that, but I'm not gonna say it. And I assumed they would scrap all that. I was fine with it. I knew I was like, okay, well, they're clearly not gonna call him that. What I didn't expect is how crazy sanitized all of Pleasure Island is. Like, I don't mean to be one of those guys who's like, oh man, Disney's gone woke, but the original Pinocchio is still rated G. The point of Pleasure Island is that it's a bunch of sinful stuff. Now it's kids eating candy and drinking root beer. They say it over and over. It's very important that you know this is root beer and not beer. Not only is it root beer this time, but it must be magic root beer, because no matter how much they drink, it never goes down, and it's not important, but it drives me up the fucking wall. When Pinocchio pushes his drink away after watching Lampwick turn into a jackass, it's because he thinks he's, like, hallucinating, because I've heard that's what beer does. I wouldn't know. In this movie, I guess he just thinks the funny soda has been spiked. Trust me, I know a thing or two about spiked soda. You think I can do these normally? The jackass metaphor is almost completely lost. They could really just be turned into anything. Completely honestly, I fully expected them to straight up either cut the scene out entirely, the entire donkey plot, or adjust it slightly. Surprisingly, not as much as you would think. I mean, the pain is there. It's shot basically the same way. There's just not enough anguish in his voice. The animation's there, but this kid doesn't sell it. I don't buy that he's being tortured and scarred for his life. My review of this movie so far is I wish they abused a real cat and kid. I wish everyone was miserable. But figuring how much this movie is made up of computer graphics, I know at least somebody working on it was suffering. And he just bails again. If you're gonna change a bunch of stuff, can you at least not let these kids get tortured until they die to the salt mines happily ever after? It's even more concerning that they decide to change the whale into a sea monster right after. That's the problem you saw? People dislike changes, but with this situation, if you're gonna remake something, I don't really mind it. I don't really love the new Mulan. I actually strongly dislike it, but I appreciate that it's not just a worse version of the original. It is, but at least it's got something else going on. Most of the time, though, I do think the most important thing is the story. When you're remaking something, tone can change. That's what happened with Willy Wonka. Most story points can change. How it's set up can change. The set, costumes, actors, new songs. Yeah, all that stuff can change. But with a fairy tale story like this, I think the moral needs to remain more or less the same. So normally, how it ends, happily ever after. That being said, I like the new ending way better. I've seen people complain that they changed the ending from Pinocchio becoming weird human boy to Pinocchio stays a puppet, but I think this is the much better option. He comes to terms with himself and realizes that what makes a real boy is love and honesty. We don't need the flesh kid. Now, what did I mean by that? Because all kids are made of flesh, hopefully. And like how the human prince from Beauty and the Beast looks strange because we're used to the beast, Puppet Pinocchio, his look is way more iconic. Also, much better moral. Be yourself is way better than you aren't real. You should be real. Sorry to all the disassociating girlies watching this. I feel as though I'm getting dumber and dumber because the more I explain these movies and try and elaborate on why they're scary and just have any kind of take and review on this, I can't articulate anything because doing this, going through all these fears has melted my brain. Whenever I think about my childhood, I hear a faint ringing in my ear. I didn't cover everything, and there are, of course, other imagery-based movies that scared me. You know, Jim Carrey's Grinch, Jack Frost, other things. But Jack Frost, I didn't actually ever see. I just saw the cover and the trailer, and my Grinch fear was actually a dream I had. But after going through all this, I realized I'm not as scared as I thought I was. I think I'm ready to overcome my fears. If I overcame my childhood fears, who says I can't face my adult ones? I think I'm ready to figure out what was going on. Hello? Is anybody here? No one's here. I could have sworn I heard something. It's also weird because there's normally people here. I guess I actually was a huge pussy the whole time. I overcame my fear. Well, if we could learn anything from today, it's don't be born a puppet, as that's very scary, and you need to go fix it.